The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to the UAB Director's Chair. He is the director, the athletic director on my left there. His name is, of course, Mark Ingram, and of course, he's the UAB athletic director. UABsports.com, UABsports.com. You can hear the show at least 5 days a week here on the TKR podcast network, not to mention our network of radio stations. Is so happy to have not only a partnership with Mark and UAB, but certainly our friendship, too. We talk a little classic rock. It's always busy. I know there's things always going on. This is a little bit of a slower time, but a lot's going on in the world of sports. And how you doing, first of all? Everything good with you?
I'm excellent. Thank you.
Excellent.
How you doing?
Good. And I'm so glad to have you on because, we can have coaches on. We talk X's and O's and stuff, but I always mention the fact and obviously info at TonyKurreRadio.net. A lot of people email the same thing. It's really cool to talk to an athletic director because you do kind of know exactly what's going on in everything in college sports. And that's why we've talked a lot about the case that's going through House versus in the NCAA. We've talked about money, talked about situations. A couple things happened this past week, though, that I thought were really interesting. The Shedeur Sanders situation, where a lot of people had him going number one overall, certainly in the first round of the NFL draft. He ends up going in the fourth round. I want to start right there. Why did that happen?
Was it the fourth or the fifth?
It might have been the fifth.
I think it was the fifth round.
I think you're right. It was the fifth round.
It was the 144th pick, whatever
that was the fifth round. Then you're correct.
Okay.
Why?
Not being in a position to evaluate the talent per se. The coaches and their scouting department, they go and watch these kids at all positions work out. They'll go to their campus. I recall they would all come to our campus. We had an indoor facility when I was in college, and we would have two days where every single scout would be there, and we would run our own NFL style combine right there to work out for and try out for every team in the league. And I don't know if that happens at every single school, but I suspect it may. And so they see you up close. I mean, they see your football. They don't just watch film. They get to see you and, put their hands on you and see how big you really are or aren't. There's all sorts of moments where, there's kids who they're not as tall as you thought they were or whatever. It doesn't mean they can't play, but they invest a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. Because we throw around these dollar figures like it's just monopoly money, we forget that it's real money and it's a lot of it. And if they're going to invest, they're putting their reputation on the line to say that you're going to be the next starting whatever safety, in this case quarterback, and they're counting on you to be that. So I don't know what they did or didn't see in Shedeur Sanders that would make him fall that way, but it was certainly a lot more than anybody expected.
Do you they were saying that it had something to do with the fact that he wasn't taking the draft procedures seriously. I don't know what that means. You would think with
they have a lot. Here's the other thing they do. They have all these. They interview. So it's not just can you play, they interview you, and especially quarterbacks, they go through extensive interviews. The quarterback has to be the team leader in so many ways.
They still do the Wonderlic?
Yes. Yeah. So it's not just intelligence, but it's also, they just ask you all kinds of questions that relate to leadership. It's a lot of the questions are really unusual that you wouldn't expect, but there's certain answers that you lean into that they would say that's the kind of person we want or not. And so again, I don't know what it is. I don't want to speak about Shedeur because I don't know, but it could be any number of these factors. And then,
he did come out of, he reminds me a little bit of Jamarcus Russell. He came out of nowhere. I mean, just absolutely nowhere. And obviously he put up some unbelievable numbers. Now the conference he was in, and obviously they won a lot more games than a lot of people thought. I can't help but think that has something to do with Dion. I don't know what that is. I know he's revered. I know he's respected.
Player of the year in the Big 12.
I know. I'm like, even if he wasn't a quarterback, he should have been going sometimes. So there's something there. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
He invested and built that draft room. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you start to see things like that, you wonder, okay, And again, I'm speculating.
He also drives a $180,000 vehicle. I mean, sometimes I think the NIL thing kind of came back to bite him a little bit because the kids,
maybe,
yeah.
Well, they just, it comes back to what are they getting, and do they want it to be a problem? Is it going to be a problem? And you hate to put that on a young man when you don't know if it really will or won't be. But again, they're making a decision based on what they think you're going to be like as a person and a player and a leader. And if anything gave them pause to think, golly, this guy's just going to be a prima donna, they don't need it. I mean, the mistake that every player makes is thinking that they're irreplaceable.
Mm-hmm.
Every single player is irreplaceable. I mean, when Patrick Mahomes stops playing, guess what the Chiefs are going to do? They're going to go get another quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And while he may or may not be as good as Patrick, he's going to play the position and take the snaps and going to get paid. And so I had a teammate, he's younger than me, and I'll spare the team names and his. He gets drafted in, it was either the 4th or the 5th round. And he goes to the team's mini camps, and this was not like him. I was very surprised to hear this, but he apparently was making all these offhanded comments about how he couldn't believe that he was still available, and they should have had to draft him in the 2nd round. And I guess he went on and on about it. And the coaches cut him before they even got to a preseason game. Because there's other dudes that not only will they not complain like that, they'll help pick up the footballs and the cones on the practice field after practice every day for the opportunity to play, because it's so unique and so hard and so special. And so fortunately, he got picked up by another team as a free agent, and he played 9 years for that team because he was a really good player.
Yeah.
And retired from that place, and they all love him, and it's all under the bridge. But he lost a lot of money because he didn't get the money he was supposed to get from team number 1, and then he got free agent money from team number 2, and eventually, look, the dude got paid in his 2nd contract. But he missed out on a lot of dough and probably went through a pretty tough, life lesson there to get to where he ought to be. But again, it's an example of there's a ton of talent out there, and there's some talent a little better than others. You can see guys in the NFL that have been dropped, guys like Des Bryant or Antonio Brown, who are phenomenal players.
Just don't want to deal with it.
Can't find a team to stay.
Just don't want to deal with the distractions. And that's the other part that I think is really surprising here is. Again, I don't want to Deion Sanders. I know that he was crass. I know that he was a prime time, but he's also a Hall of Fame player. And you would think having that as a father, you'd think there would be no surprises going into a draft day. Particularly when that's your son. There was a prank phone call that got out of control really fast. Evidently, Atlanta Falcons assistant coach, his son got a hold of Shador's number, called him, pretending to be the GM for the New Orleans Saints, and I think it was like the 2nd round, and basically pranked him and made him feel like he was being drafted. And of course, they had it on videotape, the whole 9 yards, and it wasn't. They have been fined quite a bit. So I don't want to necessarily talk about that so much, but I do want to talk about, you've had a plethora of football players and basketball players from UAB who have been drafted. And I kind of want to give me the idea of how, when you know a player is going to be drafted, regardless of what that round is, how does that usually play out? Are the teammates around? Do you have him sit in your office? Is it something he has his house? Who decides to make these things happen? Ages, the whole 9 yards. I'd really love to hear how that goes down.
Yeah, well, they have an agent that they work with that will help them, and we help them to try to figure out what round they're projected to be drafted in. If they're a 1st round draft pick, they're going to go, and probably 1st or 2nd round, they're going to go almost always, not always, but most of the time they're going to go to the draft. But you see some guys are at their house with their family around them. They're watching the draft in their living room. That's totally their choice.
Okay.
So if a player wanted to have it here in our football office or in their own house, we're going to accommodate them, and they're going to, but it's completely up to them. So I think that the guys that go are incredibly confident that they're going to be a first or second round pick. But, you can imagine there's probably always somebody that thinks they're going to be a first or second round pick, goes to the site of the draft, and then goes home undrafted after day 2.
I will say this. It does seem like there are players, if it's a matter of going higher or lower than what you think, it's always lower. You very rarely see a guy who was a third or fourth round guy end up going in the first round. It just doesn't happen, but you do see it the opposite way. Go ahead.
Well, I just think that all the people that you mentioned, between our coaches, their agent, their families, and just what is their personal preference, that's what happens. But it's certainly exciting to be able to be back in that sort of green room area, hear your name called, get the phone call from the GM of the team that's about to draft.
How do they get your phone number?
Oh, well, through the whole combine pre-draft process. You fill out all kinds of paperwork that gives out your email and your cell phone and your address and all this. How can we contact you on draft day? Yeah, that's that was going on back even when I played, so you would have a home phone, that they would call, but since the advent of the cell phone, that's why you can have more guys at the draft.
Yeah. And it was unfortunate to see how that situation went down. That being said, he still got drafted into the National Football League, which is pretty
That's right.
Cool.
And now it's his opportunity to go play.
And you want to talk about it, I'm not saying he's going to be a Tom Brady 6th, 7th, 8th round guy, but now he's got a chip on his shoulder. Let's see what he can do. And certainly having his dad and having a Hall of Fame dad in this particular situation is probably a good thing too, because I know that they came off a really lousy year. They came out and just gangbusters. And there's one guy that can probably motivate you a little bit, would be Deion Sanders. He is the athletic director for the UAB Blazers, uabblazers.com. You go to check out their website. It's wonderful. They got everything on there, from everything going on with the baseball team, golf, you name it, and check out their website. It changes every single day. And not too long before football season starts up, but of course, right around the corner, I can't believe that tomorrow is going to be the first day of May. We're recording the show on the 30th of April. Still a couple things going on with the courts and the NIL. I saw earlier this morning a Democrat from Columbus is trying to push through a bill about exclusionary measures on streaming contracts. We've got this thing now with the NFL where you want to watch the game on Thursday nights, you got to watch it on Prime. And you have to subscribe to Prime in order to get that. I don't really care. I really don't. There's so much football on to watch anyway. That is a prime time game. And so it pisses me off a little bit that I can't watch Thursday Night Football. But I also come, and I know you do too, I also come from the age of my college football team used to only play 3 games a year on television. And then there was a 4th game, which was a PPV. You had to pay $19.99 to watch it. And it was usually a really lousy game. It was Middle Tennessee, whatever it is. And so the fact that we can watch all these games, and I mean, there's pretty much, you can watch any game you want. Appalachians, I don't care who it is. You can watch your football team every single week. And all of a sudden there's some people wanting to make some money off this and do these individual streaming services. Your thoughts on that? And should there be something introduced? They're saying he's trying to set it up where if you're enrolled as a student at Ohio State, you shouldn't have to pay to watch your football team play.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these sports related laws that are coming from sympathetic senators that are just fans of their particular alma mater or state school and come up with these things. And they, just like with the NCAA rules, they're passing laws that say the NCAA can't enforce its own rules in their state against their schools. And it's like, well, then they're not a member. Yeah. You almost want to say, hey, you know what, then you're right. They shouldn't have to watch it. So it's no longer available in the area. Now you're not missing it. I think it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's yeah. And then they're talking about, well, it's going to cost me an extra $50 or $60, per game. And I'm kind of like, we live in a capitalistic society where
that's right.
They push.
Don't pay for it. Just don't watch it. The public will speak.
My son,
the public will let their feelings known.
They will.
If you don't like it, don't buy it.
My son is 20. It'll be 21. He's into hip hop music and he's into these bands. I don't know, Bad Bunny. I don't even know what these kids are into these days. So I told him, I said, listen, I said, you haven't been to a concert until you've seen AC/DC in concert. And I said, we're going to go to AC/DC. And so they're coming to Nashville on May 20th. Well, he calls me up this morning. He says, Dad, he says, I don't know if you've looked, but have you seen the ticket prices for these things? You know, he's like going to look at football ticket prices. He's like, it's outrageous. It's crazy. And of course, I looked this morning and I went to StubHub. And there's roughly 6% of tickets available for the show, so it's getting close to being a sellout. But anything on the floor or on the first tier is going to be $750 a ticket or more.
Whoa!
Now that's stupid crazy money for me. I mean, I was like, and I know it'll probably be the last time I see AC/DC ever play again.
Right.
You know, I saw James Taylor play last summer, which I thought was going to be the last time, and paid $60 and was super happy with where I was sitting. But it was James Taylor, didn't need to be in. But if I go to a rock show, man, I want to be in it. I want to feel like I'm on stage. And for God's sakes, I brought these bands on for 30 years. I need to be close. You know, I don't want to be sitting in the back. And when I see like the cheapest ticket going for $150, and that's just to stand in the back, and then $750, and that's without. By the way, it says $750 a ticket, and then when you click on it, for a pair, it's $1,953 because of all the surcharges. And it was funny. I was laughing because I just pulled up a story. AC/DC shakes Ford Field all night long at super loud concert sold out show. That was from last night. And so I got to figure out a way to get tickets to go to this stinking show because I promised him I'm going to be taking him to AC/DC. And I don't want to be sitting in lousy seats. To your point, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
If I can't pay the $750, I got news for you. Somebody will. And if they don't, they'll drop the price, you know, a couple hours before the showtime. And that goes for streaming services. It goes for college football teams. It goes for everything else. So it is what it is. But I'm going to figure out a way. You know, we used to wear the orange jersey, you know, with Coca-Cola around the front and walk in with a tray and tell them we were serving drinks. I did that at the Rose Bowl one year, and it got me in. You just do whatever you got to do in order to go in and act like you're selling concessions and whatever to get into a game. I don't think you could probably do that, but I had a friend of mine do that at the Alabama-Texas game at the Rose Bowl, and I was like, that's pretty ingenious.
It's funny.
Yeah. And then I made him get me beers all night since he was wearing that kooky vest. Something else too that I'll let you go. Something totally unrelated to what we normally talk to. Did you see the Michael Bolton news?
No, what happened?
Michael Bolton's got brain cancer.
No.
Yeah, he's 72. He was on the road. He's still touring. And it evidently messes with his voice. It messes with his brain.
Sure.
Obviously, it's brain cancer. He's only got about a 9% chance of living through it. He went through chemo and went through surgery back in 2023. No one knew about it. He's just coming out and divulging this information. And right now it appears it's in remission, but it's got a 90% chance of coming back. I forget what the name of the brain surgery is, but it's very progressive. And so it's super sad. But I'm used to Michael Bolton. I actually like some of Michael Bolton's stuff. I know for a while.
Was crazy popular and had a ton of hits.
Didn't he? I mean, and there wasn't a woman that didn't love themselves to Michael Bolton. I don't know. Yeah, he was
popular in the 80s.
He was huge. Not the best looking guy, but he had the long hair, and man, he could sing, and he was a great writer. He wrote some wonderful music for a lot of different artists. And it's just unfortunate because the guy could sing his brains out. He came out with a version of Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, which I'm like, why? And it ended up charting higher than the Otis Redding one did. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. I mean, that original, but he could just wail it. He could just sing his brains out. So I didn't know if you saw that. And
I didn't. Well, thanks for letting me know.
Our thoughts and prayers go out and should be kind of crazy. All right, my man. Thank you for all you do. UABsports.com. Check out the website. Love catching up with you. We'll catch up next week and we'll get after it. We thank you, man.
Yeah, softball just finished their last home series this past weekend with a victory over East Carolina. Baseball beat Rice this past weekend. We had our spring showcase that was terrific. Great turnout. For football. So they're completely finished now, and the semester is ending and finals are happening this week. So graduation ceremonies are all this weekend. It's an exciting time on campus. Baseball has one more home series. They've got They're at Memphis this weekend, at Charlotte the following, come back and play Florida Atlantic. So hoping we'll have a good crowd here for that last home series for baseball before them and softball go to their conference tournaments. So finishing off the spring really strong.
Sounds good. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, guys. See you.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.